One glass of poisoned whiskey changed who rules China today. November 2011, a luxury hotel in Western China. A British man lay dead beside a half-empty glass of whiskey. Standing over him was the wife of the man once tipped to be China's next president. Her name was Bo Xilai. Elegant, brilliant, untouchable, until she crossed one forbidden line and poisoned the future of her own country. Because if that night had never happened, Bo Xilai, not Xi Jinping, might be ruling China today. This is the story Beijing tried to erase, the rise and ruin of the murderous mistress of China's most powerful man. Before the scandal, they were untouchable. Bo Xilai, tall, magnetic, born into the red aristocracy, a man groomed for the throne. Bo Xilai, the daughter of a revolutionary general, a brilliant lawyer who could make any problem vanish. Together, they were the golden couple of China's new elite, power wrapped in glamour. He spoke of reviving the Chinese dream. She embodied it. Crowds cheered, cameras followed, and officials whispered that Bo might soon lead the nation. At the Great Hall of the People, she moved through crowds like a blade through silk. Every handshake calculated, every smile a message. Cameras followed her red Chanel suit, but missed the steel in her eyes. Inside their mansions, servants saw something darker. Two people who needed the world to bend to their will. Bo wanted the presidency. Gu wanted control of him, of their legacy, of history itself. She kept her own name, not out of custom, but conviction. In China's ruling class, lineage meant power, and Bo Xilai never forgot hers. At state banquets, she moved like royalty, precise, unreadable, smiling just enough to be feared. Behind closed doors, she studied dossiers, built alliances, erased rivals. Every victory deepened her belief that nothing could stop them. But power in China is a performance, and every act demands a price. Bo's enemies in Beijing were circling. Rumors of hidden money and secret favors began to spread. Gu felt the air tightening, and she knew they needed help. Someone who could move what power couldn't. Someone outside the party's reach. And soon, that someone would walk straight into their lives. A smooth-talking foreigner who would become both their salvation and their destruction. His name was Neil Heywood. He came from London with charm, contacts, and perfect timing. A British businessman who understood the one thing China's elite could never admit, that their power was built on money they couldn't show. He met Bo Xilai when her husband's rise was unstoppable, and his skills were exactly what she needed. Offshore accounts, quiet transfers, foreign passports for a son studying in England. In public, he was polite and discreet. In private, he spoke to her with the ease of someone who'd crossed a line. She trusted him when she trusted no one else. And that trust was intoxicating. The kind that begins as gratitude and ends as danger. At dinners, his British manners amused her. At meetings, his confidence disarmed her. He called her Madame Gu. She called him a friend of the family. But people who saw them together whispered a different story. He wasn't just the family's fixer. He was the foreigner who could see how their empire worked from the inside. He knew about the hidden villas, the Western education, the cash that slipped through invisible channels. He knew everything. And in China's halls of power, that kind of knowledge is lethal. As Bo Xilai's star climbed higher, Gu grew paranoid. Beijing was watching her husband. Rivals were circling. Heywood started to ask for more. More money, more gratitude, more control. To him, it was business. To her, it was betrayal. Because every secret he carried was now a weapon that could destroy them. And as Bo's enemies circled closer, Heywood's demands grew bolder. Therefore, what began as protection became extortion. London rain streaked across the townhouse window. On her phone, a photo of Bo Guagua, her son, raising a champagne glass at Oxford. For a moment, she almost smiled back. Then she remembered who paid for that smile. Every pound, every brick, every scholarship, all arranged through Neil Heywood. He was supposed to make her family invisible. Now, he was making himself impossible to ignore. Messages arrived at odd hours. Polite, persistent, unmistakably threatening. "We should meet. You owe me for my discretion." Each word felt like a hand tightening around her throat. She stared at her reflection in the black phone screen. The face that had charmed diplomats and intimidated rivals now looked hollow with fear. Her son's laughter echoed from the photo, innocent of the blood price his mother was calculating. Back in China, her husband's campaign was unstoppable. He was speaking like a man already chosen to rule. And she was the one keeping his legend clean, deleting photos, rerouting transfers, silencing rumors. But the Western press was closing in, and Heywood was the only loose thread she couldn't cut. She told herself it was fear, that she was protecting her son. But deep down, it was pride. No one, certainly not a foreigner, would decide the fate of China's next first family. The illusion of perfection was cracking, one message at a time. And tomorrow night, over dinner and whiskey, Bo Xilai would make sure Neil Heywood never sent another message again. The invitation sounded harmless. A quiet dinner, a chance to talk things through. November 14th, 2011. A luxury hotel on a hillside in Chongqing. Rain pressed against the windows, muffling the city below. Neil Heywood arrived first, polite, confident, unaware he'd stepped into a story that would outlive them both. Minutes later, Bo Xilai entered, calm, precise, a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. She poured the whiskey herself, talked about her son, about the future, about loyalty. Each word measured, rehearsed. Heywood listened, perhaps sensing tension, but not danger. He took a sip, then another. Then, suddenly, confusion. His breathing slowed. He asked for water. His eyes met hers, confused, then afraid, then pleading. For a moment, she saw not the man who threatened her family, but the friend who had once made her son laugh over dinner. The moment passed. She handed him the glass. Within minutes, he collapsed. The official report would later call it alcohol poisoning. But everyone in that room knew better. Her aide, the one who had followed her for years, stood frozen as she ordered the table cleared and the glass wiped clean. The smell of almonds hung in the air. Faint, chemical, final. Outside, the rain stopped. Inside, Bo Xilai looked at the body, her expression unreadable. She had done what she believed she must, to protect her son, her husband, her dynasty. But somewhere between fear and control, she had crossed a line no one returns from. That night, the door closed on Bo Xilai's future. The next morning, the cover-up began. Police reports rewritten, witnesses reassigned, files sealed. For 3 months, the empire held its breath. But in China's surveillance state, no murder stays hidden forever. Therefore, when Bo's own police chief discovered the truth, Gu's perfect crime became their perfect downfall. If stories like this move you, take a second to subscribe. There's so much more beneath the surface. A black sedan raced through the Chengdu night, headlights off. Inside sat Wang Lijun, Bo Xilai's enforcer, fixer, and friend. Now he was running from the empire he'd helped build. His hands shook as he gripped the wheel. In the rearview mirror, Chongqing's lights blurred into streaks of gold and red. The city he'd once controlled, now hunting him like prey. The USB drive in his jacket pocket felt heavier than a gun. In the trunk were files, bank transfers, voice recordings, autopsy notes, proof that Bo Xilai had murdered a British man, and Bo had covered it up. For 2 days, he hadn't slept. His calls went unanswered. He'd become a loose end in a system that erased them. So he drove west, toward the only gate the party couldn't close, the U.S. consulate in Chengdu. At midnight, he flashed his badge and whispered a word no Chinese official had dared say to Americans. Asylum. Inside, diplomats listened as he told everything. The poisoned whiskey, the cover-up, the cremation before dawn. Outside, plainclothes agents surrounded the building. Chengdu became a fortress overnight. By sunrise, Beijing was in chaos. A police chief defecting to the Americans wasn't just scandal. It was treason at the top. If his evidence leaked, the world would know that the man favored to lead China was tied to a murder. The order came in a single sentence. Cut the branch before it touches the trunk. By nightfall, Wang Lijun was coaxed out and detained. But the damage was done, because in Beijing's halls of power, one man's confession had just signed another man's death warrant. Bo Xilai still smiled for the cameras, quoted Mao, shook hands. But behind closed doors, his name had already been erased from the list of future leaders. The call came at 3 a.m. Comrade Bo, you will not be attending today's Politburo meeting. Click. 27 words that ended a lifetime of ambition. He sat in the dark, still wearing yesterday's suit, watching his empire crumble in real time on state television. The purge arrived quietly. His posters vanished overnight. The songs he'd ordered children to sing were suddenly banned. Then, at dawn, a single headline: Comrade Bo Xilai under investigation for serious discipline violations. In China, those words mean exile. Gu Kailai watched from their mansion, paintings, crystal, and silence. Her son was in America, her husband dismantled on state television, and the party she once believed she could control was rewriting her story, line by line. Bo's trial was theater, a warning to anyone who mistook charisma for loyalty. He stood tall, smiling faintly, still performing for an audience that no longer existed. The verdict was decided long before the gavel fell. Life imprisonment. Gu's confession followed, read aloud to prove that even the parties chosen could lose control of their own household. Her words became the rope around them both. Just like that, the dream was over. The Red Prince was gone, his wife erased, and the China he'd once been groomed to rule, the China that might have carried his name, now belongs to Xi Jinping. They said she confessed without emotion, that she thanked the judges, that when they led her away, she didn't look back. No one knows where she went after that day. Months later, a single photo leaked, a woman in prison gray, hair cropped short, eyes hollow. Some believed it was her. Others said it was a decoy. Gu Kailai vanished the way every secret in China vanishes. Not buried, but erased. For a woman who once commanded rooms, silence became her punishment. No more reporters calling her Madame Bo. No more applause at banquets. Only the scrape of a metal bowl on concrete. She told herself she'd done it for love, for her husband, for her son. But love had turned to fear, and fear to poison. The world moved on. Bo Xilai sat behind bars. Her son built a quiet life abroad, and the China she once imagined ruling now marched under another man's name, a leader who would never allow anyone to dream that big again. That quiet night in 2011 didn't just kill Neil Haywood, it killed the China that might have been. Gu Kailai became a ghost in her own lifetime. Not executed, not free, just forgotten, by design. Gu Kailai's story ended in silence. But another woman in Beijing's elite would follow the same forbidden path, a TV host who fell in love with China's foreign minister and vanished mid-flight. Her name was Fu Xiaotian, and her disappearance exposed secrets even darker than Gu's. Watch that story next. It's right here. And if you don't want to miss what comes after, subscribe and join us as we keep uncovering where Asia's elites fall. In love, in power, and in ruin. I'm John, and this is Silk Street.